Our friends at Life Skills, we've been big supporters of Life Skills for years, and one of our friends over there, Aaron Likens, here in studio. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning.
Life Skills Autism Ambassador. You diagnosed with autism, came in the show a couple years ago and sort of gave us a primer as to how your world works with autism.
Yeah, and that was a good experience, and thanks for having me back. But yeah, I was diagnosed later in life, which is, back then I was diagnosed when I was 20, so 10 years ago, autism awareness is nowhere where we are today, and my mission, and thanks to Life Skills for giving me the opportunity to go out there and say that there is hope, because when I found out my diagnosis, there wasn't that much hope out there.
Right. Autism has gone through a transformation. The world first learned about autism either on 60 Minutes or through the movie Rain Man, and now seems like autism has sort of grown and morphed into something else.
Absolutely, and it's really unique. One of the things I do now, I go out and speak to a lot of schools, and it's amazing. I was in Rolla 2 days ago, and a sixth grader asked me, is autism more than the movie Rain Man? Which is really amazing that a sixth grader would ask that. But 20, 30, 40 years ago, the envisionment of autism pretty much was the movie Rain Man, but now we understand that as a full autism spectrum, from people with Asperger's syndrome like myself that are verbal, are in the workplace, to all the way to classic cases of autism. But it's this very broad, vast spectrum.
You are speaking tonight in Webster Groves?
Yes, I am at the Emerson Library Conference Room, 7 to 8 at Webster.
Okay, do we need tickets? How do we get in?
Open to the public.
7 to 8, Webster University. Let's get more information. People can find you where?
They can find me at aaronlikens.com. That's my blog. I'll put information of when and where that is tonight. And
if we go to the Life Skills website?
I believe that's on there too as well.
Okay. Supposedly, autism, you have a hard or difficult time socializing or getting social interaction, right?
Absolutely.
And yet, I was making jokes on the break here, sort of sarcastic jokes that you got very simply.
Right. I'm somewhat. It's somewhat of a learned trait. Since I've been here, I sort of know the lay of the land.
Right.
If this were to be my first time interacting with you, first time here,
right,
it probably would have been like the first time when I was here. I remember the first time I was here, I was no movement whatsoever. I don't even think I looked at you during the interview, which right now I am making.
Which, you know what, I don't blame you for not looking at McGraw.
But that's something that I have learned, and one of the ways I describe Asperger's syndrome is a situational handicap. Whereas if it's a new situation, if it's a new environment, I'm going to struggle.
Right.
Now, once I've had some practice, once I know a person, I can get somewhat good at reading the cues, reading the signs, but if I don't know a person, sarcasm is something that's going to go way over my head.
That's really interesting. Very similar to people in general. Somebody who's quote-unquote normal will sit in that seat and act like they don't know how to talk until they sort of warm up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my coworkers at the office says the only thing autism is, it's human behavior to the next level, to the extreme. It's something, for people that see my presentation or read my book, there's going to be things that everybody can relate to. It's just us on the autism spectrum, we're going to take it that next step. So everybody is probably going to be uncomfortable if they're not used to being on radio, coming into a studio, having the lights, having the microphones, having people around. That's going to be intimidating for anybody. Yeah. For us on the autism spectrum.
Meeting Kelly Jackson, things like that. No, I agree. All right.
I do have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
2 things. Excuse me. Why is it, do they know yet why more boys are diagnosed with autism? And for you being diagnosed at the age of 20, what did your parents think and doctors think prior to you being officially diagnosed? What do they think was happening with you?
Okay.
Sorry for the 2 questions.
Yeah, I also have great short-term memory issues. So
Me
I remember
too.
the second
I don't
question.
remember any of what you
How
just
about
said.
the second question then?
Yeah, my parents, I think it was a relief for them. Growing up, they heard the same thing at every parent-teacher conference. Well, your son, Aaron, he doesn't socialize or associate too well with the other kids, but, don't worry about it. Maybe he's smarter. Which the reason why my teacher said that was, at recess, I didn't play around with anybody my own peer age. I'd rather talk to the teacher about low-pressure systems, cold fronts, and National Weather Service, and the threat of a tornado watch later in the day. Why would the teacher think anything was wrong? That's
Right.
really amazing. This kindergartner's talking about all that, and
I'm thinking he's an old soul. And
right. So it was a relief. As years went on, socializing became harder and harder. And
Did you get bullied?
Did I get bullied? If I did, I was so aloof to it. I was so in my world about talking about weather and auto racing that if people made a snide comment or something like that back then, I was oblivious to this. I was so hyper focused on what I wanted to think about what I wanted to talk about that it just went over my head.
Yeah. But there is hope because you're a productive, active member of society. You love your life, and you're giving back to the community.
Yep, I'm loving life. I just came off a national tour last month where I spoke to about 7,500 students across the country.
Wow.
And that's what the questions that students ask are just amazing.
Yeah, I bet. All right. So tonight, 7 p.m., Webster Groves University. You're speaking. More information can be found where?
At Life Skills website, lifeskills-mo.org, or I will get the information on my blog, and also on my Twitter, I will link to the page that has the event on it.
And it's Aaron Likens, Likens. And your book can be found everywhere?
Most everywhere. If not, you can definitely request it or on any of the online retailers. Finding Kansas.
That's Finding Kansas is the name of the book. It was a great conversation we had a couple years ago. Aaron Likens, good luck. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.